Lay across my big bed.
Well, we'll go out and see it sometime. We'll both just sit there and stare.
Bob's in the room, I'm afraid. Welcome to the show, folks. Yeah, it's Monday. We're here again. Hope you all had a lovely weekend. Just like to thank you for joining us again on YouTube and our Twitch stream. Now, I'm joined, as always, with co-host John C. Walsh. There he is. And we'll just get right into this, John. We'll talk about the thumbnail. It's a cracking thumbnail. I love it. It's Bob Dylan biopic.
It's more hair than man.
Starring Timothée Chalamet, reportedly delayed indefinitely. Now, we were convinced we talked about this, John, and
yeah,
I think we did probably casually. I don't think we've done it in a show.
We've done it off stream.
Yeah, I search for it. That's the memory we have. You know, memory of 70-year-olds. We forget these things because we're both Bob Dylan fans.
Yes.
Both Timothée Chalamet fans as well. Shalom. Right. Anyway, I'm going to move on because this is actually bad news. So you're not laughing about this, but James Mangold's Bob Dylan biopic starring Timothée Chalamet has indefinitely been put on hold. DP feeding Papa Michael, what a name, has officially confirmed the news. It's to do with COVID, John.
Yes.
I'm going to just zoom out here. My MacBook's been giving me a hard time lately. I think my MacBook might want to get stoned, in the words of Bob Dylan. But during an interview
must get stoned.
Collider, DP Papa Michael confirmed that the Bob Dylan biopic has been put on hold indefinitely. We were going to do a Bob Dylan with Mangold. That didn't happen, said Papa Michael, who has collaborated with Mangold on the 2019 Academy nominated movie Ford v Ferrari.
Fantastic film.
It is. He is due to re-team with him for Indiana Jones 5. Forgot about that. I don't think it's dead, but it's a tough one to pull off in a COVID era because it's all in small clubs with a lot of extras and period costumes. So you've got lots of hair and makeup.
Yep.
That's just Bob Dylan. He added, citing the ongoing pandemic as the main reason behind the film being put off. According to Papa Michael, that while the project's periodic nuances and occasionally claustrophobic club settings make it difficult to film right away, the Bob Dylan biopic is not completely off the table, but at the moment Papa Michael has not confirmed if and when there will be discussions about bringing the movie back on track. What is your feelings on this, John? We talked about, obviously, the actor, we've talked about Bob Dylan, the subject, and now we'll talk about the director as well, James Mangold. We're both fans of James Mangold as well, and his collaboration with Papa Michael, as you mentioned, Ford v Ferrari, great film.
Le Mans 66.
Yeah, exactly. Here. It's just a match made in heaven, John, and it looks like it's not going to happen anytime soon. How are you feeling about that?
Yeah, sad, because it looks like it's going to be happening for Indiana Jones 5, which is a dead franchise. But Harrison just won't let go. He's like a dog with a bone. Sadly, he wasn't like that with Star Wars, or we could have had a sequel trilogy that actually worked in the 1990s.
We'll talk about
he was
that.
off doing his superstar act, and to be fair, he is a superstar.
Yeah.
But he's obsessed with Indiana, and just the sheer gravitas of a Harrison Ford is going to draw in a James Mangold and this Papa Michael guy feeding DP feeding Papa Michael. What a name, you're right.
Yeah.
Incredible. So they're drawn to that. Look, you can't blame them because the sort of the draw of doing a really good Indiana Jones movie, perhaps the first good one since the 80s, would be, I mean, it could make a career. I say make a career. James Mangold's career is already made. The man made Logan. He made Ford v Ferrari. He's done a lot of really good movies, so his career's made. But this could put their career on another echelon. I'm going to use that word. That doesn't even make sense. Echelon. Because if they get this right, then he is in with Disney forevermore, and he'll get big movies through Disney, and he'll be making the big bucks. And for a guy like DP feeding Papa Michael, it could really kickstart his career. He'll get to work with even better directors. So I can't blame them for shunning the Dylan biopic for Indiana Jones 5. Oh, we nearly lost Streamlabs there. That was concerning. But as a big Bob Dylan fan, and we had I'm Not Here, is it? Was that it?
I'm Not Here,
I'm Not Here.
Yeah.
Obviously we had Kate Blanchett, as people like to call her. I just call her Blanchett.
Yeah, Blanchett, yeah.
That's it, Kate Blanchett.
The Blanchmeister,
I see it as I see it.
Yeah, it was a good film, John.
Yeah, it was a good film.
Something different.
So, but as a fan, it was a sort of subcompartmentalised movie. It was different segments of his life, played by different actors. To have a chance to have an actor of the calibre of Timothée Chalamet playing Bob Dylan, it'd be rather enjoyable. He's such a good actor. I've not seen him
well, this
in
is
a bad movie.
Exactly, John. I was going to say that as well, but you don't want this to be a missed opportunity, because Timothée Chalamet is hot property right now. It's going to be harder to get him nailed down for future projects. Well,
certainly with Dune,
exactly. And all the other things he's doing. But it's something I do want to see, and I do remember being very excited with the news at the time that something was happening. But you're right. James Mangold, he's got his eye on the other prize at the moment with Indiana Jones 5. Whether you like that or not, it's happening anyway. I think as well, it's not a film you turn down, I suppose, if you're in his sort of position. It's a big franchise. Working with Harrison Ford, you'd been mad to turn it down. But I do want to see this film. Bob Dylan's such an interesting character. I think it's based around the time he went from folk to electric as well. I think there's actually a title in this article, John, what the film was going to be called. I can't remember.
Yeah, I'll try to find it. Stephen,
it's somewhere in
Going
there.
Electric.
Yeah, that's a great name.
Stephen, it was also a very tumultuous, if that's the correct word, tumultuous. That's the correct word.
I didn't come here to see a pub band.
In the guy's career, people were hating on him.
Yeah.
Fans of him were turning on him because he was going electric. He was this folk singer with heart, and his lyrics meant something. So when he went electric, they just thought he was turning into just a regular electric band, pop band, as you did say. Yeah. People were hating on the guy. He was getting a lot of shit on his tour. Yeah. But Dylan, being the way he is, the figure he is, he doesn't care. He does what he wants. You've seen it, Stephen, even live performances to this day. The guy, his attitude is, if you want to listen to the songs like they were on the record, listen to the record. If you come to see me live, I'm doing my own unique take every night, and sometimes you'll be sitting in a chair in his shell,
John,
and other times you'll be bouncing about. So this is what the guy's like. He doesn't care, and he goes with.
I've always wanted to see him live, but just to see him more than anything, if I'm being honest with you, I just want to be in his presence.
How gutted would you be if he was a night where he was sitting in the chair, sulking?
Well, that wouldn't bother me. It would not bother me. He's right. If you want to hear, the record, listen to the record, and he'll do it his own way. That's something I've always admired about him. Yeah. He's always done things his own way. He comes across as a very shy person as well. I think.
But Stephen, when you read the biopic,
but what I mean is in large numbers, John. I think obviously he likes the ladies. I
couldn't believe it. I could not believe it when I read the book. How much of a hoormeister he was in his younger years.
I don't think he's very comfortable with adulation. I think that's what it is. I think he just does what he does, and he can't understand why people like him for what he does. And I don't think he's really hung up about it or really thought about it deeply. I think he's had a great life, John, let's be honest with you. And he's such an interesting life. I love the Martin Scorsese No Direction Home documentary.
Fantastic.
We quote that every time and again, don't we, when we've had a few beers.
4 blocks this way, 4 blocks that way. Not much happening.
What was the town called he was from?
Duluth, Minnesota.
See. But
George Washington with a black face.
It's something I do want to see. It really is something. All these biopics that are coming out, I do enjoy them. I love the Freddie Mercury one. I like things like that. The Elvis one as well, which I'm very interested about.
Yeah, the Baz Luhrmann.
But if you had to,
Austin Butler, I forget. I remember his name.
If you had to say to me, if you had a choice to pick one, it would be the Bob Dylan one. I'm afraid that's the one I want to see because
Stephen had a better career than Elvis. Elvis is heralded as the king of rock and roll, but his career was a bit. How shall I put it without offending people who are a fan of him? It was a bit shit. After perhaps the 50s and the late 60s, he returned. He became a sort of stage act in Las Vegas. Well, he became a parody of himself.
Yeah, there's different periods of this, and everyone's got their favourites.
But it was short-lived, Stephen, compared to Dylan, who's sort of took place over 5, 6, 7 decades, 6 decades.
Dylan did go off. I'm not going to say he went off the rails or anything like that, but he did go. Yeah, that voice. He did move. He did move from folk and electric over to country at some point as well, and that kind of rattled a few cages as well. He did the Johnny Cash show, which I thought was fantastic. Having those two together singing, these famous songs was iconic. But I just want to see it. I want to see what Timothée Chalamet can bring to the character, bring to the icon.
He is a character.
And I think he's got the talent to do it. He's there's not many people out there that can pull it off.
He's from New York. He's from a similar haunt as Bob Dylan was hanging around in the 60s. I think it's West Village or something.
Yeah.
He's round about that artistic, creative part of New York, so he'll know very much about Bob Dylan and probably followed in his footsteps,
Yeah.
like Ghost of the Past, if you'd like. That's a shit analogy, but he'll be stepping in the same sort of travails that Bobby Boy was doing in the 60s, so
Bobby.
he
Yeah.
will have an affinity to this guy, so if he gets a chance to play him, I think it'll be really, really good. And the director, if we can get Mangold in there, combination with him, and then what's her name, Joan something, Joan
Joan Baez.
Joan Baez, yeah. If we can get people like that cast correctly, because of course it is going electric, she was put out by that as well.
Yeah.
I'm convinced that, was it Positively 4th Street?
Yeah.
Where he's talking about someone who wronged him. I'm
John,
convinced he's talking
it's
about
funny, every time I hear that song I always think of different people. I always go, is that about Lennon? You know, is
Well,
it
could
about
be.
you know, that's the great thing about songs, you can interpret them in their own way, but I think you might be onto something
Yeah,
there,
could
because there was that period where I think
Very close.
he was moving on. She
Yeah.
found it hard to let go, kind of thing, but she's a talented you know, artist in her own right anyway.
You need
But
to get the casting correct for characters
Yeah.
like that, people like that though. But Stephen, the final thing I say, you're right, the fact that he does keep reinventing himself, it was like obviously Bowie,
yeah,
perhaps
yeah.
even more recently the likes of Blur. Oasis became one tracked, they've done the same songs. Blur always reinvented themselves, Radiohead reinvented themselves, bands and artists who reinvent
Status
themselves
Quo always reinvented themselves.
they remain. Even the Beatles, Stephen, over the course of 10 years, reinvented from a sort of pop group to sort of psychedelic era, then into the later era, and then you had the sort of in-between era as well. They reinvented. That's why they're so attractive to people. They didn't remain the same, and that makes for good storytelling as well, because there's elements in history where they've went off and done something different, and it's rubbed people up the wrong way, and that's what you've got here. He says it with the Lay Lady Lay going country. When he went electric, he changed everything, his act. People didn't like it. That's a fascinating story to adapt. But just the sort of furore, people hating on him, and then him turning them around with good music, slowly but surely, and then having the likes of Chalamet in there to do it, and then Elijah Ward's book. I've not read the book.
No, I've not either.
Sounds like it's all in place. You've got the right ingredients for a good movie. The source material's there, a good adaptation from a great novel. The right director, the right actor. I don't know why it's not happening, but once COVID clears up, hopefully it's sorted.
Yeah.
I get to see Chalamet.
Get it sorted.
Done.
Yeah.
Bobby, as we like to call him.
Listen,
Infamously.
fingers crossed it's back on the table at some point, John, but we understand the reasons for it not being. But we're going to move on anyway. Your Falls Creed. It's Creed 3.
False Creed.
Maybe happening with
Tony
Michael B.
Bellevue.
Jordan in a larger role, John. Now, already we know about Sylvester Stallone's already said that he's not coming back, but I think he'll change his mind. But he's got another idea for Rocky as well, which we might get into, training another guy. But we'll get into that in a moment, John. Obviously, Ryan Coogler did the first film. Amazing film, I loved it, absolutely. I thought it was maybe a bad idea when I first heard about it. I thought maybe the Rocky franchise should be put to bed once and for all. I thought Rocky Balboa back in 2006, I think it was a great conclusion to the franchise, and it rounded everything off very nicely for that character. But this film took that character, the character we don't know yet, obviously until 2016, Creed, and it just worked. I think this was this the first film I saw Michael B. Jordan in?
Not for me.
It might have been
Fruitvale Station for me.
Fruitvale Station, yeah.
Even his collaborations with Ryan Coogler over the years have been ridiculous.
Yeah.
Just brilliant.
Yeah, they're tight, John.
Ship, if you'd like.
Ryan Coogler didn't. Stephen Caple Jr. did Creed 2.
Yeah.
I can't remember the reasons why Ryan Coogler.
I think he was doing Black Panther.
Black Panther, yeah.
And I think he still stayed on as an executive producer or something.
And there was always talk about a third instalment, John, and there was always talk about Ryan Coogler perhaps taking the reins once again, but not according to Deadline. Michael B. Jordan has been tapped to both direct and star in Creed 3. The trade made mention of the development while discussing MGM's handling of No Time to Die's release. No other details were given aside from the brief mention of Jordan directing. Should Jordan take over directing duties, this is Cinema Blend by the way, he would be the third to do so. The original 2016 film was of course conceived by Ryan Coogler and was met with critical acclaim for the 2018 follow-up. Stephen Caple Jr. stepped in. Steve Caple Jr. I will say Stephen stepped in to take over from Coogler. The film did well at the box office but didn't receive quite as much praise as its predecessor. I would agree with that. A move to the director's seat would only continue Michael B. Jordan's increased interest in working behind the the scenes. Just recently, it was reported that the actor would serve as a producer on Warner Bros. And DC's Static Shock movie. He also served as a producer on last year's Just Mercy, which we reviewed, John.
Yeah, it was
and
great.
Will continue those duties on his upcoming action piece Without Remorse. Now, John, before we talk about it, Michael B. Jordan, he's been struggling over the last few months, and rightly so, John.
Shambles.
Obviously with his sad passing of Chadwick Boseman, he's a close friend, one of his best friends, if not his best friend. I think it's only natural, John, that that he's done his stint as an actor. He's obviously working away as a producer on some projects as well. So it makes sense. He knows the character well enough now after 2 movies. He knows the world of Creed as well. He knows the history and the legacy of these characters as well. So, if he can get the right team in, I don't see any problems with him directing this film. I think he's more than capable as starring as a lead and directing this third instalment. What's your thoughts?
Absolutely, Stephen. I don't see any issues behind him getting out and directing the movie. I'm checking his IMDb to see if he has directed anything at the moment. He hasn't, as you did say, primarily producing. But you can make that transition. He's worked with so many talented actors, directors, crew over the years of his career, if you like. This guy's been around for a decade, just over a decade, maybe more than that actually, getting back The Wire, nearly 2 decades. So he's been around the block many times. He knows his shit. He's a very intelligent guy as well. You get that. I'll go to myself and give you a break, Stephen. You get that when he's talking in interviews. You just get the charisma, the dedication to his craft, the dedication to training and just weightlifting and stuff like that, his diet. He's a very dedicated guy, and he, as you did say, he knows the character very well. So I see no reason why he can't go in, do double duty, playing this character, and then give us a compelling sort of role as a director too. I mean, it's obviously difficult. We've seen the likes of Taika speak about that on Jojo Rabbit and stuff like that. It's a hard thing balancing being on the screen and then being behind the screen, and you're in sort of costume. In Taika's case, he was wearing a sort of Nazi uniform, the Adolf Hitler get-up, and it was very difficult for him to give orders to actors because he was doing double duty. But that wouldn't be an issue for your man Michael B. Jordan, because he is indeed playing a boxer, and he's 9 times out of 10 he's in normal clothes, so he can do it. He can do double duty. He's talented enough, and I think the movie could actually succeed if he is doing double duty, because we've seen it with Rocky, Stephen. We've had Sly Stallone.
He's done the writing,
he's done the producing, the directing, and it's not really had any ill effect on the movie. So I see. Look, you've seen him bouncing around with the likes of Margot Robbie and stuff like that. Other people in the industry who are now starting to turn more and more into doing producing work, doing multiple roles within the industry. They're not just bogged down into acting, and that's the best way to sort of elongate your career, give it longevity. If you can do multiple different things, producing, directing, acting, as you start to get older, you can step away. You're not as tired and having to do the long days and stuff like that. You can just do producing roles, then take a break, go and do a directing, maybe do double duty, do acting. So I see no reason. I think it's a natural transition for Michael. Moving on, I mean, the guy's still young. He's only a couple of years older than me. He's 33. So he's got a long time left. This could be a great opportunity for this guy to direct a movie where he's got a real interest in the character. He understands it. He's passionate about it, and it could be a success. I hope it is. Stephen, I love Creed. I love the 2 Creeds.
I liked them.
I really enjoyed the second one. I liked the story and bringing in the Drago stuff. I don't know how there was talk that we'd bring in something relating to your man. What was he called again? Mr. T.
Yeah.
Going to bring his
Clubber
Lang. Clubber Lang. We're going to bring his son in or something. I don't want to see that happening.
No,
I want the focus to be on Creed.
I think as well, John, after Creed 2, I think the character had made peace with his father's death as well, which was important. Rocky, on the other hand, obviously reconciled with his son in, I think, Vancouver or something like that, wasn't it? But it does say here in this article, and I did know this anyways, Sylvester Stallone initially seemed to indicate that he was retiring the character of Rocky Balboa. It would seem, however, the 74-year-old, can't believe he's 74, actor has had a change of heart, as he stated that he's developing another Rocky spin-off. That story would see Balboa meet a young immigrant and train him as a boxer. With this, it's unclear if Stallone would have any involvement in a potential third Creed movie. I don't really want to see Rocky in the third one. I think it's time Creed as a character stood on his own.
You seen it, Steve, at the end of the second movie. He sat back and let him have his moment.
It was going there, wasn't it? So it's set up. I think it's set up anyway.
And then you had the thing behind the scenes as well, where he was set to direct the second movie and he actually stepped away because he didn't know the character and the actual inner machinations of that community quite as well as a Stephen Caple Jr. So he stepped away. It was the right decision.
Yeah.
Just give up on the Creed thing. If you're going to do Rocky,
I was going to ask you, John, is this something that would interest you? It doesn't interest me now. I think I previously mentioned that his arc finished in 2006. It was nice to see the connection in that world with the Creed movies, just to have him in the background and advising. I don't think Sylvester Stallone took anything away from Michael B. Jordan. He didn't overshadow him in any form. I think possibly maybe 20 years ago he would have, but I think the character itself, I think people have accepted, he's an old man now, and he's done everything he can, as a character. I don't think this whole idea of training a young immigrant doesn't interest me, because we've seen it already. We've seen it in Rocky 5. There is became the trainer. We've seen it again in the first Creed movie. He became the trainer. There's nothing really left for the character there's nothing there that excites me anymore.
See, you're right. You've took all the words out of my mouth. That's why I don't want to see it. I just want him to step away. It was beautiful. The end of Creed 2. He stepped back from the limelight. He gave Creed his sort of it's Adonis, isn't it?
Adonis.
John,
I was struggling to find his name there. I couldn't remember.
I knew it was Adonis, and I'm saying Creed. He allowed Adonis to have his moment, and then he stepped back, and then he had his moment of making up with his son. He's not his young son, his son. Yeah. And actually having that moment. That was just
it was your chap, wasn't it? Milo's.
Milo Ventimiglia. Yeah. So that was the moment for the character. He stepped back. And then it was not all about Creed now, it was the passing of a baton. If you keep coming back, it lessens the impact. So I don't want to see it. No. Just focus on doing your director's cut of Rocky 4 or whatever it is.
Look forward to that, John.
Yeah.
I certainly am.
Take the robot out there.
Yeah.
Actually, the guy who created the robot came out and absolutely slammed Sly.
Yeah.
Says it was the wrong decision.
What is he going for, a different tone or something like that?
I don't know.
Because it was a bit comic relief, wasn't it? It was a strange thing to do.
He said it was for money.
Yeah.
Money reasons, budget reasons.
Okay. That was a cool robot. Wouldn't have minded one of them back in the day, but cost a fortune. But we'll move on anyway, John, to Tom Holland confirms Spider-Man 3 has started filming. Normally something we would have as a headline, but we felt the last two articles have been a little bit more interesting. We knew Spider-Man 3 was going to be starting filming soon, but Tom Holland's confirmed this, John. I think it was on his Instagram account.
A busy boy.
He posted a video on his Instagram story confirming he's officially landed in Atlanta to start shooting the sequel to last summer's Spider-Man Far From Home, just days after finishing work on an Uncharted movie. In the video shared on social media, Holland seems excited and ready to go, saying, "Okay, so we just landed in Atlanta and it's time for Spider-Man 3, let's go." I can imagine. I'm not going to obviously watch the video.
Yeah, we're not going to click on it because you will get.
We'll get copyrighted.
Guaranteed.
But I can imagine the enthusiasm of him saying this anyway. He's a very enthusiastic chap.
Just state eyeglass game's on big time. I've got similar glasses. I don't rock them quite as well as Tom, sadly. I'm not as good a hair as Tom. That's probably why I don't rock the glasses as well. But like your glass game there, Tom.
Now, John, I'm going to state the obvious here. We're very excited to see that the production of this is starting because we're big Spider-Man fans. Phil Spider-Man. One of the things I always like about films that interests me when the production starts is leaks.
Yep.
I love leaks, and this... And I don't mean the vegetable. I do
had
like
leaks
them
the
as well.
Night, Steve.
I do.
I did enjoy it. Leek inside or gravy.
I do like these photographs that come out, especially if they're going to involve a certain Mr. Maguire, Bully Maguire, and of course Andrew Garfield. John, now that's the strong rumours at the moment. Whether or not these will last the pace, these rumours, is another thing. But at that side, it's good to see we're getting back on track with another big production. And really we'll not really know the exact date of the release of this film, but it's good to see that they are starting the filming of this. Now, we were talking about a few weeks ago, obviously Black Widow is already in the can. It's just waiting for the opportunity now to be released, so that Phase 4 can really start the ball rolling, because that's the thing about the MCU. You can't really move too far ahead if your films are being delayed, but it's good to see. This is a different kettle of fish, obviously, but it's good to see that Tom Holland's coming out and saying this. It'll be very interesting to see what the title of this film is going to be called. I hope it's not going to be called Spider-Man 3. We went through some of the titles a few months ago.
There was one that you coined, and it was actually pretty decent. I can't recall what it was.
Don't know, I can't remember.
Homeward Bound.
Talking dogs.
Yes.
But yeah, what's your thoughts on this, John? I'm very excited. I just really want to see the leaks. I really want to see whether or not they're going to go down this multiverse sort of way or not.
Stephen, I think they absolutely are going down the multiverse way. I think that's why your man Stephen Strange is coming in.
Yeah.
That's why Benedict is gracing us with his presence in this movie, and gracing us with his presence in WandaVision. I think we'll see all three of those stories, Multiverse of Madness, WandaVision and Spider-Man 3, all interconnected. That's why I would have liked to have seen WandaVision delayed until next year, in between the release of Spider-Man and obviously Multiverse of Madness, because I think that would have been a great triple matinee. I'm all interconnecting in and telling the one story about how all of these characters are all caught up in this tangle of web Multiverse of Madness nonsense and the ramifications of all the different characters. Stephen, I don't know whether we will see the likes of Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield popping in, but certainly with this movie starting shooting, we will start finding out sooner rather than later, because you've seen it with the Batman. You can't miss leaks. They're everywhere. Cameras are catching all sorts of shenanigans.
Drones everywhere,
Drones. So if they pop up on the set, they're going to get caught. So they need to be ninja level of secrecy. George Lucas 1980s Star Wars level of secrecy to keep the cat in the bag. That's why I'm excited. Blue Harvest. That was Empire Strikes Back, wasn't it?
Return of the Jedi.
Return of the Jedi. There you go. Well, you didn't really need to keep too much secret for that, to be fair. And, you know what I mean? Ewoks.
Harrison Ford's in the Tunisian desert again. I wonder what film he's making. Could be Indiana Jones, I suppose.
Exactly. Well, this is, Stephen, it's a level of obviousness we've got here as well. Why would Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield be on in Atlanta, I think it was Brooklyn or something like that? They were filming a Queen's Spa. I can't recall which one. I think it was Brooklyn. They were filming as well. A little pick-up shots, maybe, I don't know, location shots, no actually featuring the actors. But Stephen, the reason this, much like you say, the reason this excites me is we are going to see leaks, and it excites me in general because it means the movie's now getting created. It's going to be in the can maybe in 3 months' time or something like that, and we can start looking ahead to a brighter time when there's movies releasing again. We've not got a pandemic, hopefully, and we can start getting this phase 4
Mr. Biden
moving.
will sort that one out.
Oh yeah,
a few weeks.
Oh dear. But Stephen, man, I mean, I'm excited to see this movie. I think this is going to be absolutely massive. It could be the Civil War meets Spider-Man, the Civil War of the Spider-Man sort of sub-compartmentalised story within the MCU. It's got that scale to it. We could see multiple characters coming in here. If we do get to see the 2 different incarnations of Spider-Man, J. Jonah Jameson doing something, we've got Electro, perhaps so many sinister things could happen. It could be an absolutely epic movie. I think the chances are they've learnt from their mistakes as well, if they overusing different villains and not giving them enough part in the story. I think they'll get the balance right with Feige there. So I'm excited for this movie. I'm just excited to see more Stephen Strange. The more the sooner the movie gets made, the sooner we're going to see it. So time
John,
will fly.
Exactly. I would say Human Fly. I think I would probably say Spider-Man is my favourite Marvel character out of maybe the Incredible Hulk, but
I've got the shield behind me, Stephen, but it's not my favourite character. Just because it's a cool prop.
I think that's just something enjoyable about Spider-Man. You know, I enjoyed the television series from the 1970s. I enjoyed the TV movie as well with Nicholas Hammond. Loved the Amazing Spider-Man.
It was your first movie you went to see,
wasn't it? It was, yeah. It was the
Spider-Man?
first film I saw in the cinema back in '78, and I think as well I liked the Amazing Spider-Man animated thing as well. Amazing Spider-Man and his friends with, what was it, Iceman and Firestarter or something like that? I can't remember. It was really entertaining. Games? Yeah, and the games as well. You had a few for the PlayStation, John, that you lent me, and I've got a fear for heights and I couldn't play the game. It was really well done for its day, early 2000s. But there's just something about the character I've always liked. You know, there's something wholesome about him, maybe naive at times. You know, that seems to be a problem with a lot of people with Tom Holland's incarnation of him, that he's not really moved on. But I think he has. I think by the end of Far From Home, you know, he's developed as a character, and that's what I'm looking forward to seeing, how he's developed and matured for the 3rd instalment, John, because he'll have to, you know.
Stephen, I think this is why this movie's so important, because it's going to be the movie where he has to sort of stand in his own legs and do his own thing. That's a terrible saying again. I'm butcher.
How many legs?
Exactly. 8 potentially. I mean, he had that sort of Iron Man suit, didn't he? It was had multiple legs, so yeah.
Yep.
But he's going to have
Give you the
to.
creeps.
He's going to have to admit, oh yeah, no, I hate my spiders. That's why I've not got a Spider-Man prop in this room. Got enough spiders in this room. We're borderline countryside here. They love coming into this house, and they're absolutely gigantic. So not for me. There's enough spiders, but I do love Spider-Man, and I want to see him having his own movie where he doesn't have aids from other characters. He's not getting helped back up by the sisterhood, if you like, in the MCU. He's not getting helped by Tony Stark. He doesn't need these characters' helps. He is a godlike figure. He's got a God-given ability. He can swing around. He's incredibly strong.
Yep.
Stand on your own 2 feet and do your own movie. Be the mature character that we've wanted to see. I've enjoyed the youthful take on him where he's learning. He's got the sort of, I don't know,
without regurgitating the origins. Yeah.
He's got the sort of training wheels on in the first movie. Yeah. He's lost his mentor. He's having to come to terms with that. He's almost gullible. He's allowed Mysterio to lead him down the merry path, if you'd like. Now he has to stand on his own 2 feet. And this could be a real game changer for Tom Holland, for his character, for the actual story involving the character as well moving forward. I think this movie is going to be Civil War of Spider-Man. It's going to be epic. It's going to be a lot of shenanigans going on. They will get the multiverse right. Kevin Feige knows what he's doing. People are saying it's dangerous. There's no need to explore multiverse concepts. Get the hell out of here, man. It's Kevin Feige. Sit down. Behave. No chance.
Anyway, John, we're going to move on to our next topic. It might be a combination of two because it is Star Wars we're talking about. But firstly, Star Wars prequels are better than Disney sequels, according to Kanye West. I don't normally agree with the man, especially his politics, but I do agree with him here. Kanye West made a passionate speech about why he believes George Lucas's Star Wars prequels are better than Disney's corporate-made sequels. Now, we've talked to hind legs off this, John, why we prefer sequel trilogy, prequel trilogy to sequel trilogy. But Kanye West, who's known to integrate pop culture into real life and politics, is the latest celebrity to share his thoughts on Star Wars prequels and sequels. In an interview with the Joe Rogan Experience, West made a passionate speech about how the prequels were set in George Lucas' heart and criticised Disney's creative process. West's full quote can be read below. I'm going to read it, John, because it's not that long. I'll not do his accent though. And this is about to make me mad right here. The first time you've seen me get mad in an interview. Really? They said that George Lucas prequels are worse than the corporate-made Disney Star Wars. The Revenge of the Sith? ? We saw how Darth Vader was made. I watched that like 10 times during COVID. Don't jump, Anakin. I've got the higher ground. I'm saying even the prequels are better than anything, and I'm sorry, Disney/Star Wars design team. No, man, this is George. This is his baby. That thing was set in his heart to show us as children the hero's journey. Do you agree with that, John?
Absolutely. Yeah. Bang on. Stephen, people slag off George Lucas. They slag off the man's dialogue. You can say this shit or you can write this shit, but you can't say it. It's true. His dialogue's horrendous. Sand, I hate it. It gets everywhere. It's coarse.
It's coarse.
Rubbish dialogue. Where is she? No, horrendous. But what the guy does have is an overarching vision for a story. He's great at exploring new locations, giving us a heroic arc. I mean, we got it with Luke, we got it with Vader, Anakin Skywalker. The first two trilogies were essentially the story of Anakin Skywalker. The sequel trilogy was just tacked on. It was bullshit. It furthered no stories whatsoever.
Tacked on, I like that.
It was tacked on nonsense. It was fan. It's a fan fiction movie, Stephen. I can't take it serious. It's bullshit. Nonsense. What is it furthering? It doesn't further any story. It doesn't further the new character stories. It doesn't do any. It bastardises the old character stories. So that's why he's absolutely bang on.
Yeah.
It's his baby. I can't recall the exact word he says. It's his sort of vision.
Yeah.
It was his team. It's his baby. It was his heart to show us as children, the hero's journey. That's exactly what the first two trilogies were. It was about the rise of the Empire, the fall of the Empire, the rise of Anakin Skywalker, the demise of Anakin Skywalker, then the redemption. Luke Skywalker coming from a farm boy to a hero. Nothing
John,
to something.
It's funny because...
And that's something that's universal. Anybody can follow Luke's story.
The prequel trilogy, you've got the story. You know, the story's there, and it's a very good story. It's just not executed well. Yeah. Whereas the sequel trilogy is executed as best it can be with a bad story.
Yeah.
Very... disjointed story, and we know the reason for that is because they never planned it out.
It was an agenda.
Whereas the story of Anakin Skywalker was already in place by 1977, although it wasn't fleshed out till later on. It was in people's minds at that point, especially after watching The Empire Strikes Back and then the conclusion with Return of the Jedi. it did make you wonder. I'd like to see how Obi-Wan, and Anakin met. How did they meet? Where did the relationship go wrong? That kind of thing. How did Anakin become Vader? Where does the Emperor come into this? Where does he appear from? And you can say what you like about the prequels. The story is interesting, John. I do like the story.
Yeah.
Execution-wise, it's not very good. I understand that. Acting at times and delivery is terrible. A lot of technological disasters with the over-reliance of green screen. Having established actors like Ewan McGregor, Natalie Portman, Samuel Jackson, Ian McDiarmid, Christopher Lee, the list goes on. All these great actors struggled. They absolutely struggled in that prequel trilogy because of George Lucas's...
But the hospitality was good.
According to Christopher Lee, compared to Peter Jackson's.
Surprises me.
Yeah.
Oh, that Hobbit grub.
Exactly. Maybe he doesn't like cheese. I don't know.
Lactose
intolerance. But,
was he? There you go.
I get where he's coming from, and I think people of a certain age as well, I would probably put him in the bracket of my age, or roundabouts, maybe a little bit younger, probably in between you and I, John, I would say. We grew up with the original trilogy for such a long time. And you're talking 16 years before the prequel trilogy was then, the ball rolling, starting on that in 99. But there's something about, you're right, that sequel trilogy was tacked on. That's a great way to describe it. It's really just, in hindsight, I would have preferred them to do something separate, but they didn't have the confidence to make, a Star Wars film without legacy characters. And legacy storylines, because that's the thing, John. I don't know if I would have been interested either. No. I was excited to see the original characters. We're talking about this before we came on. The reason I watched the sequel trilogy was to see Luke, Leia and Han again, and we know what happened.
Bastardised their arcs, bastardised their personalities, their entire characters. Luke goes from one of the most optimistic guys on the planet, browbeaten by his Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen on a Tatooine hellhole of a planet, a desert planet full of Ronians, Jabba the Hutt, tyranny and sort of everything. He came from that. He still maintained a positive outlook in life, and then as we get to the sequel trilogy, he's this beaten down, battered guy, and he's trying to kill his own nephew. Oh, come on, that's a joke. It's a joke, man. And I like Rian Johnson as an independent filmmaker, but no, you've got I can't even think of the actual word, but you've got a sandbox you have to play within. There's the way I'm going to frame it. Yeah. You have to play within that sandbox. If these characters are legacies, they're mythology within the universe, you can't bastardise it too much. And they tacked it on, as I did say, for me it's fan fiction. I can't take it serious now. I'm blanking it out of my mind.
Well, John, this actually is going to carry
us into... The prequel trilogy, final thing I'll say, prequel trilogy, I'm starting to want it more and more now. Yeah. They can sort that CGI out if they've got the willpower to do it.
Well, they've got
the performances will still be there.
The performances are there, John. It's really the background stuff that annoys me. There's...
Obviously, Hayden's performance ain't that good, but Christopher Lee, come on.
Yeah, well, exactly. But... Listen, there's another day for that anyway. But
this dog's killing me, man.
We will. He's behaving. There's no fireworks, John. So count your blessings.
Fireworks coming out your rear end.
We are going. Gunpowder.
Oh, Jesus
he's
Christ.
Probably been eating gunpowder. But where the Star Wars original trilogy characters are during The Mandalorian, John, this is what takes us into our final topic. The Mandalorian hasn't included any characters from Star Wars original trilogy yet, and here's what we know about Luke, Han and Leia's lives. This is in from Screen Rant, John. I'm not actually going to get into where Luke, Han and Leia's lives are at that point in The Mandalorian. What I'm going to do is, though,
I think what we're seeing, Stephen, is that Luke definitely had the better life.
Well, yeah. Well, according to this, but you can check it out on Screen Rant. It's under Star Wars main characters, Mandalorian, where Luke, Han is, etc. But it's something we've been talking about ever since The Mandalorian Season 1 ended. There was talk, I think I actually might have mentioned this in the show, that there was a strong rumour that the character of Luke Skywalker would be mentioned, or maybe appearing in the background somewhere, as a sort of cameo, an Easter egg, I would say, more than a cameo. But it does make you wonder. It does make you wonder where they all are while you're watching The Mandalorian, because it is that period after, I think it's 2 years after Return of the Jedi. Yeah. And what Luke's doing, it tells you in the article, obviously, what he's been doing and what Han's been doing and what Leia's been doing. But it's that period that's interests me the most about Star Wars at the moment. That period between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens, that's the bit I'm really interested in, because I didn't get what I wanted out of the sequel trilogy, like we were just talking about, John.
Yeah.
That period, you're talking about maybe recasting or doing what Star Wars are famous for doing, is putting really important storylines in cartoon form, which I hate. Make it live action. You've got the technology there to utilise now. You've seen it with the Mandalorian. I really do want to see that. A lot of people might take the hump with recasting.
Yeah.
Not miscasting. I've done that quite a bit. But we already know who we want as Luke Skywalker. There's no doubt about it. Sebastian Stan. I think he's going to be really busy over the next few years, obviously, with his television series Falcon and Winter Soldier. But I can't really see anyone else pulling it off and being accepted other than someone out with Mark Hamill playing that role. I think most Star Wars fans would accept him if they're going down that road. But I mean, I'm obviously jumping the gun here, John.
Oh, Stephen, he looks like him. He's got the charisma of Mark Hamill. He's got the similar sort of comedy. He's got that personality. He's quite a funny guy, and he bounces off of people. You see it in his sort of press junkets with all of the other people he's also been in movies with, the likes of Chris Evans and stuff like that. He bounces off Anthony Mackie. They've got a great relationship. I can't see how that guy can't bring that to the role of Luke Skywalker and make it work. Also, he's a little bit taller, but he can do that. He can do things with that. He can shrink him.
That's not an issue. John.
But he's so like him. It's eerie.
Yeah.
He's absolutely bang on in his likeness. He's the right age as well.
Yeah.
And there's years left in him that he can portray this character if they do indeed bring him in. I'd love to see him pop up in The Mandalorian. They're saying here he's too busy. He's off doing journeys to the Moraband, the Sith homeworld. He's doing lots of different things. He's not yet set up the new Jedi Temple, the new Order of Jedi. So that's taking place. Stephen, that's actually probably right then. We could see the Mandalorian going off to one of these planets and maybe bumping into him. We get a cameo. Then it sets up a spin-off. You don't need him to have a big role in the movie. You could just have a brief little glimpse, maybe some interaction, then it sets up a spin-off. That's what we're getting with these MCU movies. They're setting spin-offs and stories. It's going to have ramifications for the actual cinematic stuff, and they're going to be doing later on.
Do you know, I take myself back to when I was 7-year-old watching Return of the Jedi, and I loved the film as a kid, and I still love the film. I think it's more a kid's film if you're comparing them with the other two, A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. I think Return of the Jedi is probably the most kid-friendly one to an extent. Certainly Endor scenes. When those closing scenes happen in Endor, everyone's dancing around out of sync and stuff like that because they changed the tune in the special edition and made Lando look like a right jump. There was a sense of satisfaction, and you saw it in Han, and it was Han actually. I think he was hugging Leia. There was a relief in his face. Yeah. We've done it. Luke looking off to the Ghost Jedis as well was an iconic scene, and from 7 years old right up to 2015, I always wanted to know what Luke had been doing. It was my favourite, he was always my favourite character in Star Wars.
Stephen, he's most people's favourite character. That's why it's ridiculous the way they treated the character.
And then when I seen what they did to him, it was I'm probably being a bit melodramatic, but it was heartbreaking to see that character become what he did. But if they can fill those blanks in that 30-year period leading up to that, and it's done right and written right, then it becomes more acceptable. But there is that jump, John, and I think a lot of people, that's what they struggle with. The jump from the Return of the Jedi look to the Force Awakens look. Well, we only got him for about a minute in the Force Awakens, but that sort of journey, it's very instant with a lot of people. I think as well for a lot of people that are the next generation watching Star Wars are watching them in chronological order.
It's like there's a trilogy missing.
Yeah, I think a lot of kids must look at Mark Hamill in episode 6 and then move on to episode 7 and go, what the hell happened to this guy?
This guy said a horrible life.
Yeah.
The dual sunsets have caught up with him. Yeah. Clearly he was getting some...
Just like Obi-Wan.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he was living on that too. It had a dual sunset as well. So clearly the dual sunsets ain't good for you. We know the sun's not good for the skin. But clearly green milk had something to do. What was your man that
played Leia's stepdad again?
Ben... Oh, Christ.
I can't remember the actor's name, but time was kinder to him. You know, he was the same age as Obi-Wan Kenobi, wasn't
I'm
he?
going to search up. Billy,
Yeah.
oh Christ.
No, it wasn't Billy, no.
No, Ben.
No, it wasn't. It was it played a stepdad in Alderaan, you know.
Yeah, he was in
Rogue One.
He was in that horror movie as
Yeah.
well, with the visions at
Yeah.
night. I could oh crap.
John, I'll bring it up if
I'm
you
never
want
going to
me.
get it. I'm never going to get it.
Listen, I will bring
I
it
can
up.
see his name
Yeah,
in
I
my
know.
head, but I just can't get it onto my tongue.
I will bring it up.
Haunting me, man. I'm
But,
sure
I
it
mean,
begins with
what-
a J and it's an M.
But what was your feelings towards that, John? At the end of Return of the Jedi, it was such a great ending, wasn't it? You know, it was just a satisfying ending. Jimmy Smits,
Was it Jimmy?
Bail Organa.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm thinking about the other guy.
No.
I'm thinking about the guy who actually played Uncle Owen, the younger Uncle Owen.
No,
James something.
Leia's stepdad.
Oh,
not
yeah,
Luke's.
Jimmy Smits. I got that right away then. Damn. God damn it. Yeah, Bail Organa.
Yeah,
he
he aged better.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What is that guy's name now? James? I'm saying James Marsden. That's not his name. I'm going to find that guy's
We're off
name
on a
out.
tangent, aren't we?
But Stephen,
Yeah.
I mean, it feels like there's a trilogy missing.
Yeah.
And you're right, if they can fill in the blanks of Luke characters, Luke Skywalker's character.
Yeah.
I'm making up characters myself. Not good names, that might add. But if they can fill the blanks in, then it could make the journey we see in the sequel trilogy a little bit more palatable if we get the adventures of the guy and what he's been getting up to in his youth when he was a Jedi Knight, because we've seen him as a Jedi Knight Master.
Yeah.
Then it ends. We never get to see this guy in his pomp doing what he's doing in between episode 6 and obviously 7. So if we can do that through Sebastian Stan and TV shows and in movies, then that'd be fantastic. I think out of the OG characters, he's got the greatest. He's got the greatest potential to pop up in the Mandalorian and have a spin-off, just because they have a guy who's ready-made to play the actor. The other one would perhaps be Lando Calrissian, because you could have Donald Glover come in, even though he's younger.
Yeah.
You can style him in the way of Billy D. Williams and make it look semi.
Yeah. Well, I thought
Decent.
they were going to do that with Ewan McGregor in The Rise of Skywalker, but
And then Stephen, obviously Boba Fett's another guy. I expect him to pop up in this second
good call,
season.
yeah.
Maybe at the end, and then we get more adventures with this guy. So I don't expect to see anything with Leia. We've not got an actor who can play the character, and she's
and they're not
she's
doing
sort of
that CG
babysitting.
thing.
She's she's babysitting.
I don't
Kyle.
want them to do that CG thing they did in Rise of Skywalker, that flashback, the training thing. She looked terrible.
No, look, Stephen, she's too busy.
Yeah.
She's babysitting. She's got a young 4-year-old Ben, so she's got too much going on. And obviously Han's retired from smuggling at the moment, and Chewie's off in Kashyyyk, firing Lumpawaru. Here's your daddy. So those characters are not happening.
No.
So it's
I'm not interested in them.
It's either Luke, Lando, or Boba.
And
That's
one
what you're going to
And
get.
one thing I did like about The Rise of Skywalker, probably the only thing I liked about it, was the references to Luke and what he'd been doing with Lando. So the story there, you know, and maybe
Donald
that's
Glover and
what,
Sebastian Stan.
that is maybe where they are sort of leading it. You know,
That's
planting
what
the
we
seeds.
want, Stephen. So that's precisely what you won't get as long as Kathleen Kennedy's
exactly,
the president of Lucasfilm. So forget about that. But she's not going to be for long. It's going to be Jon Favreau. I'm absolutely sure about that. I'm going to bring your graphic down, Stephen, because I'm done.
I'm dusted. Yeah.
I'm done and dusted as well. Clearly, I'm making names up and I'm flinging in slang, and I've done it again.
Let's get out of here.
Yes, let's get out of here, man. So I'm going to round up. Get out of here. Come on. I'll not do that. He's a gonk. Yeah, you coined that. That's like gonk muffin. A shithead. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. But Stephen, an absolute loser as well, our manager.
For eye,
An eye for eye, yes. But Stephen, pass it over. I don't know why I'm saying Stephen. To the people who are perhaps watching and have managed to get to this part of the show, pass it over to you. This is for you. I broke your body. Oh, your spirit. Oh, your body. Tom Hardy came into my head again. There is me. Why? Perhaps he's wondering why I shoot a man before throwing him out of play. Tom, love Tom Hardy, but we digress. Nothing to do with Tom Hardy, man. What is your thoughts on this Bob Dylan biopic and Timothée Chalamet? Shalom. What's your thoughts on? Are you disappointed that it's been delayed indefinitely? Is it something you want to see happening in the future? Would you like to see James Mangold teaming up with Chalamet to do a Bob Dylan movie? What is your thoughts on Creed? Do you think Michael B. Jordan can do double duty, direct and act in Creed 3? Is that something you think can be a success? You want to see it happening? Are you excited about Spider-Man 3 starting shooting? It's been confirmed by Tom Holland. And what do you make about Kanye West comments about Star Wars? Do you agree with him? The sequel trilogy is an absolute dumpster fire, discombobulated shambles of fan fiction, and that the prequels are even better. What do you make about
Big secret.
Mandalorian? Big secret.
Classified.
Kylo Ren is strong with the Force. You must come with us to defeat the First Order. Shit. Absolute shit. And I defended that performance in my review, which should be deleted out of history because I was talking shit. But look, I digress. What's your thoughts on all of those topics? You can comment below and let us know what your thoughts are down below in the comments section. You can also like the video if you've enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this, more rambling like this. And if you do, that's what you'll get, guys, more content. But look, as ever, until then, bye-bye.
Everybody must get stoned.